Yes, I understand people are looking at the thumbnail and going, what exactly is going on over there? He's the color of the poster, but he's holding scissors. Yeah, unless you've seen the movie, that's not going to make much sense. But if you have seen the movie, let's begin the video. I have to be honest with you, at this point of time, the only thing retrospectives like this are doing are reminding me just how much older I am, because this movie is actually younger than I am right now. It's making me feel so old that I feel like the light is making my hair look gray now. Unless... Alright, let's get the existential crisis of my hair potentially looking gray out of the way. Let's actually focus on the fact that this is a movie that I finally have an excuse to talk about. Technically, Oldboy classifies as a comic book movie. I've talked a lot about comic book movies on my channel. It makes sense to have one more added to the roster, but it also just happens to be one of the greatest movies of all time. Although, it is an interesting choice for one of the greatest movies of all time, and I say this specifically because with context to a conversation that I recently had. Two, actually. Basically speaking, Oldboy, which I'm assuming most people have seen if you're watching this video, it's a film that's not exactly morally just. Every character in this movie makes some really messed up decisions and does things in messed up ways that don't necessarily, you know, as a film goer, you'll probably look at that and go, okay, that's repulsive, or I'm not necessarily siding with that, this is not making me feel great, and that's fair. The movie is not trying to do that even. But the moral question that comes up with a film like Oldboy is actually kind of what makes it so much more interesting to look back on. Because you won't find yourself potentially defending any choice, but at the same time, there is a debate as to which choices make sense and which don't. But also the characters are layered in such a way, and Park Chan-wook has done such a great job with that, that it remains one of the greatest, in my book at least. And I would say that seems to be the case for most people. Like, if you ask someone what are some of the greatest movies of all time, I wouldn't be surprised if this comes up. It's also one of those movies which is, you get it right one time and you're not going to do it again. And they tried. There was a remake 10 years after this one, and it's not great. It's a film that's very much fundamentally messes up what made this one so special, to say the least. I know it's weird because I'm going into this video, and yes, I will say it is one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's such a tough movie to sort of talk about because of the fact that it's just such a visceral experience. But it's a movie that is such a fascinating tale at the same time, and getting to see it on the big screen in 4K with an audience of which at least 25% of it had never seen the movie, hearing audible reactions to certain things, especially as the film's coming to a close, was a really awesome experience. I got to see this at the closing night of Fantasia Film Festival. I've already done 2 videos out of that, which were for Talk to Me and It Lives Inside. But the fact that this one closed it is such a great idea because it's the kind of film that elicits the most amount of response when you can really think about it. And as far as the festival goes, this is one of the movies that got the most of that. It's such an interesting movie. And when you're following Odesu's story, a man who's been in prison for 15 years for reasons he has absolutely no idea about, getting out, eventually wanting to get revenge. He's learned to fight from like watching stuff on TV, trying to replicate those moves. He's not exactly, you know, a skilled person in that way. And he's made some mistakes along the way that could have got him into this position. Following along all of those things and sort of getting a life story for him, but also the people who could have wronged him as a result of that, and understanding each approach. It makes for such a compelling story, and it's wonderfully done. And it's wonderfully restored as well, because it's out in theaters now in 4K, so you can go and check it out, this, you know, remastered version. It looks incredible, and the film already looked incredible. So it just looks even better now. There are certain moments that just looked eye-popping, especially with the, you know, restoration. Like the one take in the hallway, that is just beyond remarkable even now. That even got applause at the screening, which is, again, sometimes the best part about doing videos like this, retrospectives, is that you just get to take a second to talk about the fact that, the memories and sort of the way around watching this movie, it makes it as special as it is. Everything from the direction to the performances, Choi Min-sik is amazing. Everybody does such a great job. A score which is genuinely euphoric and transcendent at times. Brilliant stuff over there. Really well shot action sequences and just a well shot movie in general. Wonderfully told plot that's as messed up as it can possibly get. But that's kind of a thing which happens when you watch a lot of the movies that Park Chan-wook has done. Like, there are a lot of times where you'll find yourself with very morally questionable storylines and plot lines and character plots, which are sometimes you have to just see the movie and just kind of go with it, which honestly I'm okay with, because I don't necessarily believe that movies have to have a very simple moral center. Like, it's easy to go into a film saying beginning, middle, and end, and there's a happy ending, and the main character, walks into the sunset happy and proud. That doesn't always happen. It's also not exactly always realistic, because not every day in your life is going to be as, wonderfully bookended as something like that. There's going to be mistakes along the way. There might be some hardships. There are going to be trials and stuff that you face through. And so the idea of, having full moral correctness on something doesn't always happen. And the fact that movies can sometimes tell that story and sort of look at it from that perspective too, I think it challenges the viewer in that sense. And that's kind of why I appreciate the debate that it can create. So if you're watching the movie and you go, I don't like it because morally and, plot-wise, there are things that I question and I feel like, they're not correct. That's actually fair. That's a fair point. That happens. And that's a fair conversation also, because, it creates a whole different, spectrum of its own when it comes to discussing film. It's like, what else can that storytelling medium sort of do with that? Now, I'm not going to go too much into the plot after, because I realized that after that screening, a lot of people still haven't seen the movie. And so I'm actually hoping that, if nothing else, the video that you're watching right now is sort of used as a jumping off point to see it. Because I remember the first time I saw this movie. It was years ago, and I honestly think even that time I was a little young to see it. Like, I wouldn't recommend this movie to you if you're like 12 years old or something like that. Please don't watch it if you're 12. But, if you're much older than that. But there's a point where, even while watching it then, I was like, I feel like I'm too young to watch this. And second viewings really help, because I haven't seen it since. So knowing certain things and going back and seeing it again, it makes, it recontextualizes things and kind of improved the movie for me. So even though I really loved the movie before, I love it even more so now. And I'm curious to know if that happens with people who watch the movie this weekend, or they've seen it multiple times since, or how it ranks among the, movies for you. Like, is it in your favorite movies of all time, maybe? I'm not really sure, but I can honestly say it's in mine. I'm sorry, this video is vague, because really at the end of the day, it just comes down to, having just some thoughts out there just to be able to talk about it more like in a discussion form rather than just do a simple review. The point of these videos is to just share stories and to share insights rather than try to do a basic pros and cons list. So with that in mind, I will still ask the question, what did you guys think of the movie? Have you seen it before? Have you seen it multiple times? What are your thoughts on it? Comments can have some spoilers, but I would refrain from anyone scrolling down to them just in case, you haven't seen the movie. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.